Bangalore is one of the least invested cities in India. We're the second largest payer of income tax in the country. We're the third largest deposit base for any city, fourth largest in lending. But then for all the tax that they pay, what do we get? Peanuts. So we have a political class which rules Bangalore, takes all our tax money, puts in the rural areas, and gets votes and comes and rules us and shows the middle finger. How many corrupt people in Bangalore have been sacked in the last 4 years? How many corrupt people in Karnataka government have been sacked? Prime Minister Modi, I think, has removed 500 people in Delhi. I went to St. Joseph's College once, some 15 years ago, 18 years ago, where there was a father there who was a socialist. And we had some small students come and say, oh, you know, there's a traffic jam in Bangalore. The IT people are coming and creating a traffic jam. And I got upset and said, yeah, there's a traffic jam. I think they should all go away and you'll have no job to do. You can cycle full day in the streets with no jobs to do, no economic activity.
Hello, a very good evening. Very good evening. Welcome back to Swarajya Conversations. I'm really privileged to be joined by a very prominent citizen from Bengaluru today, Mr. Mohandas Pai, for a conversation. Sir, a very good evening to you. Namaskara, and thank you so much for giving us your time. As we are seeing today, Bengaluru has been again inundated by the floods. And this is not the first time in this year alone. It's probably the second or the third time. And it's taken us a while to realize where the problem lies. But as a citizen who's lived in Bangalore for several decades now, who or what do you attribute this problem to, sir?
Well, I attribute this problem basically to three things. One is the lack of governance in Bangalore. Our city corporation is a corporation without capacity. It has become extremely corrupt and it doesn't care. There's no accountability because they cannot manage a city of $140 billion in GDP, about 12 million people, with 10 million vehicles. And, they just can't do it. They don't even have the capacity capable to do it. And they become extremely corrupt because they have not hired people. They get people on deputation and there's no action taken on them. The second thing is the apathy of the state government. Because today we are in a situation where every chief minister wants to improve Bangalore. They never said no to us for 20 years. I met last five of them. Second, the senior bureaucrats want to improve Bangalore. They understand the importance of Bangalore. But the lower level officials don't respect them, don't do the work. I mean, I'm shocked that we are in a government where lower level officers supposed to do the work, lie to the thief, are corrupt and don't do the work and they get away. I mean, and the third thing is lack of urban reforms, which is a common thing all across the country. And if we don't have proper urban reforms, proper empowerment of the cities, a full-time mayor and smaller corporations, not giant corporations like Bangalore, it's not going to work. I remember at one point of time, Bangalore University had 880, affiliating colleges under a university. 880, the largest in India, is ridiculous. Then we had to speak to government to divide in 3 or 4, etc. And they did a decent job, not a full job. But that's the problem because the scale. A country like Singapore with 50, 60 lakh people has a prime minister, an army, a cabinet, a bureaucracy, a PW, everything. And a city with double the population has nothing. How can it run? And a state like Karnataka with 6.5 crore people has a chief minister, a cabinet, bureaucracy, 6 lakh people looking after the entire state. And Bangalore, which is 60% of Karnataka's GDP, 20% of population, has nothing. Only a commissioner.
Right.
Now, where is the governance and where is the accountability? So, and then last point I want to make, apart from all this, is Bangalore, the richest city in India, per capita income of $10,000, $11,000, right? And Bangalore is one of the least invested cities in India. We're the second largest payer of income tax in the country. We're the third largest deposit base for any city, fourth largest in lending. But then for all the tax that they pay, what do we get? Peanuts. Today, our seats in the legislature is only 26 out of 228 because based on 1971 census. We don't have empowerment in the legislature. So we have a political class which rules Bangalore, takes all our tax money, puts in the rural areas and gets votes and comes and rules us and shows the middle finger. So all this has come together to do this.
Yeah. Do you think dividing the corporation or creating multiple corporations within the city will actually help this? And I saw that you made another comment about how Bangalore's mayor is today a ceremonial mayor because he literally does not get to do anything because by the time they are occupying the position and exiting, it's almost over. They barely have 6 to 8
Yeah.
months to actually implement any reforms.
It's like the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, no? Because I'm a chartered accountant. I've seen so many presidents. By the time they finish felicitation all around the country and everything, half the time is over, the time to go. What will they do? It's the wrong model. We need a full-time mayor elected directly by the people. And we need smaller corporation because, one corporation for 800 square kilometers, 12 million people is too much. It's bigger than, I think, 50-60% of countries in the world. Where there's so many city states and small countries, right? So I think it's important to have governance and manageable bits. So the BS Patil committee and others suggested 5 corporations with 5 mayors and one Bangalore Metropolitan Authority headed by the Chief Minister to make sure that the common transportation, common mobility, water, etc. is done so that the local community will be empowered. Now, if there are 5 corporations, the distance between you and your corporation headquarters will be less. You've got lesser people to deal with. And you've got a person who will show full-time attention on the smaller geographical area. I want to see, we have had many commissioner change in the last many years. How many of them have gone to all the wards of Bangalore? Hardly anybody. It's not possible. Correct. I mean, we had a minister for Bangalore, remember, when you went and told him about Martha Hurley, many things happened. Sauda, he didn't even know that outer ring road has so many great companies. Look at the tragedy of Bangalore. Outer ring road has some of the biggest, greatest companies of the world creating huge employment. Maybe 10 lakh people are employed in that corridor, right? And everybody should be proud. Any country, any city in the world will be so proud. They'll focus on give them good infrastructure. What have our government done in Vidhan Soda? I mean, they just don't care. They just don't care. How much time have they spent on an area which gives you great taxes, great high quality employment? They should be proud of that. Yeah, they're proud sitting, oh, we are a great state, we are a great this, everybody in the world comes to us. Man, what have you done? Yeah. And see, this is the result of benign, neglect and everything else. Luckily, we have S.R. Bommai, who is a engineer, new chief minister. Hopefully, he'll do something and we want him to take strong action. And there's no fear of this lower level officials. How many corrupt people in Bangalore have been sacked in the last 4 years? How many corrupt people in Karnataka government have been sacked? Prime Minister Modi, I think, has removed 500 people in Delhi in the last 8 years for corruption, other inefficiency, etc. Why can't they sack some few people? Show they mean business. Today, none of the officials listen to the government to get work done. They say yes to everything, but it doesn't happen on the ground. Where the accountability?
So one more thing that several people, experts from Bangalore say is that perhaps the city has reached a point of exhaustion where you cannot expand it anymore.
Or no, I don't agree with them. I don't see. Those are all stories that have been given. I don't agree with them. That's an old attitude because there's a set of people who say this is a pensioners' paradise and life is spoiled. I went to St. Joseph's College once, some 18 years ago, where there was a father there who was a socialist. And we had some small students come and say, oh, there's a traffic jam in Bangalore. You IT people are coming and creating a traffic jam. And I got upset and said, yeah, there's a traffic jam. I think they should all go away and you'll have no job to do. You can cycle full day in the streets with no jobs to do, no economic activity. Look, we want high quality job for a city. We want the best of the world to come here. Give them good infrastructure, create good mobility. Tokyo is a city of 30 million people. Okay? Beijing has got 25 million people. Come on. And where is the growth happening? In the outskirts of the city. Outskirts city should be cities by themselves. It's not happening in the heart of the city. It's happening in the outskirts. That's why you need 5 corporations. London has become a big agglomerate, right? London, it's got some 22 boroughs. So that's the model that you have to say it's not sustainable, is not this. I mean, I don't buy the argument. The most important thing for us are jobs and a sustainable way of life. Sustainable way of life means you have very good public transport. You got only 6,000 BMRTC buses for the last 10 years.
Yes.
Where is the public transport investment? Your metro is beyond schedule 3, 4, 5 years. Nobody knows when they're going to go live. I mean, they don't even commit. And when the metro works in the city, below the metro, life is horrible. The roads are dirty. They're not made up. In Delhi, when they build the metro, the roads are all made up. Traffic moved. Here, traffic doesn't move. And the whole metro area work is happening is so filthy. Can't they clean it up? I mean, Bangalore's got debris. Footpaths have got debris, muck and all that. Why can't they clean up Bangalore?
Yeah.
I mean, does cleaning require brilliance? Cleaning require a Vishwesvaraya to come here? Does clean require a minute? I mean, why can't they clean up Bangalore? I've been telling the last 4 chiefs, clean up Bangalore, clean up Bangalore, clean up Bangalore. Everybody says yes. They don't understand the importance of cleaning up. You clean up footpaths, clean up everything, people will walk, man.
Yeah.
Why should people take a car to go 1 kilometer in a city? They must walk.
Correct.
I mean, all cities, the concentration of human activity, which makes for specialization, increases productivity, increases income, so you must walk. Because mobility is the biggest problem. You reach places faster when you walk 1 or 2 kilometers, right? And you need public transport within 1 kilometer of any house, any location, city. That's the way city should work. So you take your personal transport only for, special occasions.
So what do you attribute the reason of this recklessness to? Because many people actually share the opinion that perhaps it is because electorally it doesn't matter too much to any political party. They don't really, care about Bangalore.
No, that is true because, like I said, Bangalore has 26 seats out of the 228, even though we're 20% of the population, because it made a 1971 census. Parliament passed a law, I think in 1975, 76, freezing the whole thing to some 30 years, 30, 40 years. Okay. Now they're supposed to redo it based upon the 2021 census. So that's why Modi has built that Parliament House with 845 seats.
Right. It's futuristic.
But it's going to get a political ruckus. The biggest challenge for South India. We're going to get less seats in Parliament as a percentage because we are controlling the population. We were 30% of India about 30 years ago. Now we become 25% of India, possibly 22%. Population has grown there. We have become economically literate in South India. So we are going to get shafted by having lesser number of seats if this goes on. The same thing for Bangalore. So we need a delimitation exercise for a state where urban areas get better representation, and that will improve the cities because politicians respond to the electorate. And for the country within the states, we have to look at a slightly different model. But what you say is right. We are not empowered in the city of Bangalore.
Yeah. So do you think this particular disreputation today that Bangalore has because of its infrastructure problems and traffic problems, investments are perhaps going to be affected, or do you foresee a possibility that companies may move out in the future, or is it stretching it a little bit?
Some people could move out and all that. Yes, it is quite possible. And that's why everybody is waiting to see what action the Chief Minister and the government will take for the next 3 to 4 months. If they demonstrate action, reducing corruption, improving infrastructure, improving public transport, execute it well and give hope, then the damage will not be there. If they don't do that, I think the damage will be very severe.
Right.
So they must act in the next 3 to 4 months.
I saw one of the images going viral since the last 2-3 days, where it says, where it basically enlists a lot of old lakes in Bangalore and how they have been captured or built upon by different other institutions today. But if we were to actually look at the source of the problem today, it's mostly in certain parts of East Bangalore. I mean, obviously, notwithstanding the fact that any encroachment of water body or natural body is not good for the environment and not good for the city, but only the parts that are affected are limited to these certain new areas of Bangalore. And why do you think that's happening, sir?
Look, let us understand one thing. That area had very large, intense rainfall in a short period of time. When you have so much of rain coming down a short period of time, the ground is not able to absorb that water. Water will not go, water will flow and will accumulate and flow. That's point number 1. Okay. It is a one-off event. It's not a regular event. Point number 2, there have been drains. The drains are all blocked and choked. Whatever drains are there, they're blocked and choked with muck and everything. They're not been cleaned. Again, because of corruption. For all you know, people would have built the BBMP and taken away the money saying we clean the drains every year because they allocate money for cleaning. They only fake bills will be there. Because, if you tell the contractors are not being paid for 2 years for work, how did he survive 2 years? He can only survive 2 years if it's charged 100 rupees and work done only 40% of work, 40 rupees of work, right? So he is sitting on his profit, not getting his profit, and he's paid his bribes. Okay. So, and then that part had lakes which have been drained, which have been covered up, and they were Raja Kalves. If the Raja Kalves had been opened, the water would have flown. They would have accumulated for some time because the intensity of the rain, but water would have flown away and drained downstream. Now the Raja Kalves have been blocked. So water is not draining away. So water is accumulated there because like a valley, but the outlets have been blocked. The outlets don't have the capacity, so they're accumulating. And they've been there for a long time. That's the problem. The Raja Kalves should have been, see, when you drain the lake for whatever reason you did it, the Raja Kalves could have been allowed because they were the main drainage. what people should understand is there is 1 in 10-year rains, 1 is 100-year rains, and 1 is 1,000-year rains. If you go back in history, the 1 in 1,000-year rains create all the water channels because the rains are huge and intense. They create the water channels, and the water channels have come to a particular size to take the huge downpour. You understand? Now that you are blocked.
Yes.
So when there's a once in 100-year rain, what happens? You saw what happened in Bombay, right? When Bombay was flooded. I mean, that's a once in a 100-year event. Never happened before, where the seas level went up and the rain rained so much and the whole area was gone, right? I mean, no drainage can do that. So water accumulation will happen sometime, not like this. They could happen in some areas, but the drainage has been blocked. That's the problem. So first, you're not clean the drains. Even whatever capacity you got is not working. And second, you block the drains.
So do you think we've become over-dependent on Kaveri as the source of water of late? Because Bangalore as a city, once it was envisioned probably 300, 400 years ago, lakes were the main source of water for people. And today, do you feel that we have to perhaps revert back? Because even with excessive rainfall,
look. Don't get into this silly argument. Oh, Bangalore, a city of lakes. That lakes are not there now. We should go back. Kaveri. Look, Kaveri water supplies 1,500 million liters of water a day. There's enough water in the Kaveri to supply. We must create local capacity for storage. And you must recycle. Out of 1,500 liters, only 800 million liters or 700 million recycle. Rest is later based. Why don't you recycle 100%? Correct? Use it for gardening, washing, everything else, for irrigation somewhere, right?
Correct.
And make better efficient use of the water that we have. And then whatever lakes are there, let us deepen the lakes. Let us make sure that the groundwater goes up. The rain is also accumulating. So let us have a good plan for groundwater usage through the lakes and accumulation and through the whatever Kaveri water we got. Let's do that. So I think, we should be very careful when we make these global statements. I used to go to Chandigarh to set up Infosys. Some people were retired people, bureaucrats who got 1 acre plots, 20,000 square foot blocks, retired, getting pension from the public. They were all calling and saying, oh, don't get all these commercial fellows. They'll ruin the city. What about young people, man?
Yeah.
What about the young people there who are grown up? Don't they want jobs? High quality jobs?
Correct.
They don't understand. Because, I also like the pensioners' paradise. I'm now nearly a pensioner. But what about, I'm concerned about young people in the jobs. I want good jobs for you.
Right.
People like you, right? Where will jobs come in a city if we don't allow high quality employees? Is Microsoft, Infosys not a high quality employer? You want them. Any city in the world will want them, right? So let's not talk about that, okay? Quality of life should be there. Cities will grow. Population of India at independence was 33 crore. Today we are 140 crore. It's the same land mass. Okay, so let's be very clear. Population has grown 5x, correct?
Yeah.
Not 4.5x, correct?
Yeah.
Now it may stabilize. So,
in
the same landmass, you have to have more people. That means cities are going to grow, but you need urban transportation. You need good infrastructure. You need clean air. If there is public transportation, a good metro, Bangalore needs 500 kilometers of metro. We should do that.
Because in the mindset of many of our urban planners and thinkers, and not to blame anybody in particular, I think we've been very defeatist and lazy in glorifying a lot of these old age traditions and reputation about Bangalore that it had. So perhaps what you're trying to say is that we need to be futuristic in terms of how we envision Bangalore, going forward 10, 20
Look, Bangalore
20
is
years.
what it is today. We are a free country where people can come from any part of India and settle down. You can't prevent them. I remember a debate on NDTV. Many debate on NDTV are stupid debates. And the debate was very simple. There were some really environmental terrorists who were saying, for this public property where government is considered building, they're cutting 300 trees. Because 300 trees means oxygen will not be there, will die because of oxygen and everything like that. Okay. Then I told them, in the Sahara desert, there are no trees, there's oxygen. So you cut 300 trees, oxygen will go away. Let's not exaggerate. It's like people here do road hugging. Bellary Road, 6-lane road become 4-lane, becomes 2-lane, and the choke point. You have to move some 40, 50 trees. They're all saying, no, we can't cut the trees. People's health is getting spoiled. Pollution is going up. You transplant those trees, Baba. It's okay. Bangalore's got 30 lakh trees here. I'm not saying cut all the trees. In critical points, just work it out, correct? Now they're all making the kind of stuff. Then one other person said, the place where NDTV studio was, there are a lot of trees there. That means you have come, and then you don't want to go. Like, many years ago, we had a debate in front of Vidhan Sauda, where, the 3 or 4 very rich women were there, the type, and they came and said, oh, we should not allow new cars to be registered. You got 4 cars in the house. We don't want others to have a car. What logic is that? Why don't you give up 3 of your cars and walk? Give up all your cars. See, everybody wants somebody else to suffer. We can't do that, right? So we have to make sure there's enough public mobility. We have to have proper planning, proper green areas, proper treatment. It can be done. Many cities have done it and do that.
So,
and the past is not going to come back.
Yeah.
The nostalgic old days are not going to come back. Let's be very clear. We are what we are today. Let us make today better.
Oh, and lastly, what do you think about the BBMP's delimitation plan going forward? Just would like to have your thoughts on that.
Look, 200 to 248 wards is not going to make a difference. Okay? It is just cosmetics. What we need is a breakup of BBMP into 5 areas because BBMP is too big to be managed. Okay? I told you about Singapore, yeah? 60 lakh people, Prime Minister, Cabinet, Ministers, bureaucracy, everything. Here, 1.2 crore people, we got 1 commissioner. Poor man, you can't even travel all over the place. 800 kilometers, square areas, 10 to 1 crore vehicles. What are you going to do, man?
Right.
What are you going to do? Correct?
Correct.
How can you manage? It's too big to manage, right? It's too big to manage. It's like the Indian Railways, too big to manage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so big. So, you got to have a reasonable size to manage. That's why break down into and authorize them and empower them. They must have locals. Our property tax has not been enhanced for 10, 12 years. Enhance it for God's sake. But say the retired people will have lesser taxes. People who stayed in the old house will not see increase in tax, maybe 5% because they can't afford it. And commercial will have to pay commercial rates, right? And others have to pay whatever the market rate is. The affordability has gone up, and say 30% of the taxes will go for improvement in the same ward because these are all local taxes, should be used for the local. Why should I pay tax in Ali Askar Road to improve Madhepura?
Yeah.
I want some.
As a matter of fact, one of the excuses that we hear from the BBMP
I'm willing to contribute to Madhepura. It's Bangalore. Like we pay income tax, it goes all over the country. But some of it should come back. Because the local tax, I want to see improvement in my area. Charge me more, but improve my area.
As a matter of fact, one more thing is that the BBMP keeps blaming the state government every time, saying that look at Bombay, BMC's budget and Delhi's budget as compared, we are very low. We receive very low. But do you think that's a good enough excuse?
Very fair. We may give 60% of Karnataka's taxes. What do we get? Peanuts. Of course, they all on 3,000 crores, 4,000. But how much is spent? Peanuts.
Right.
But the fact is, whatever money gets, if 20-30% eaten away, what do you get here?
Yeah.
First of all, they say we get less. But 20-30% you eat away by bribes, what do you get?
Right.
They don't talk about that, right? Yes. They only want more and more money so they can eat away. A lot of corrupt people in BBMP should be sacked.
Right.
New set of people should come in. And you must break up BBMP to 5 copies. Then only it will work. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yes.
And right now, the Chief Minister, he look into it. What we want the Chief Minister to do is, we want him to make a list of all the things he wants to do, set up a committee under the Assistant Chief Secretary and other stakeholders, including civil society, have a meeting every week, monitor it and give a report every week for 3 to 4 months till things improve. It happened when Dharam Singh was there and he did it. So we must need this accountability, and otherwise, Chief Minister says something, is a good man, he'll give money.
Yeah.
But it will not happen on the ground. And Chief Minister is busy running this state. There's a political problem everywhere, every single day.
Correct. Yeah.
In the state. I mean, that is it, right? And the elections are going to come. So he's going to be busy. Who's going to look after the state?
A lot of radical reforms indeed are required for Bangalore to see a transformation. So thank you so much for giving us your time. It's been very, very informative just listening to you. And it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.